It started on a cold, quiet night in a small mountain town called Black Hollow. The streets were empty, fog rolled in thick from the woods, and the silence was broken only by the wind brushing against old wooden cabins. A man named Daniel Cross had moved there 6 months ago to escape the noise of the city. He told people he needed peace. He told himself he was healing. But truthfully, Daniel was hiding from memories, from people, and most of all, from what happened in the city. He didn't tell anyone that part. Daniel had a small cabin on the edge of the forest, no neighbors, no traffic, just trees, rocks, and shadows. He liked it that way, no distractions, no strangers. But lately, he had started feeling watched. At first, it was small things. A creak on the porch when no one should be there. His front door unlocked when he was sure he locked it. Things inside the cabin slightly moved, barely noticeable. He told himself it was nothing. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he forgot. But deep down, something inside him was whispering, "You're not alone here." One night, Daniel was sitting by the fireplace, reading a book. The flames flickered. Outside, the wind howled louder than usual. And then, a soft knock on the window. Tap, tap, tap. He froze. No one should be out there. His cabin was a 20-minute walk from the nearest road. No cell service, no visitors, no neighbors. He got up slowly and walked to the window. Nothing. Just black trees and white fog. He waited. Silence. He turned around. And froze. The door was slightly open. Daniel grabbed a flashlight and a knife from the kitchen. He stepped outside, shining the light into the trees. "Who's there?" he called out. No answer. Just the sound of branches shifting in the wind. He searched the area around the cabin. Nothing. No footprints, no signs of anyone. He returned inside, heart still pounding. He locked the door, checked every window, and sat down again. But he couldn't relax. That feeling, that heavy, sick feeling of being watched, was stronger now. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Daniel walked to town. He asked around casually, anyone hiking up near the ridge last night? Everyone said the same thing. No one goes near those woods anymore. Why? No one had a clear answer. They just looked nervous, uncomfortable. Like they didn't want to talk about it. Back home, Daniel checked his security camera, the one facing the porch. The footage showed hours of stillness. Then to 14 a.m., the screen flickered. And for 1 second, a blurry shape appeared at the edge of the woods, too far to see clearly. Not human, not animal. Something tall, something wrong. Then the screen went black for 10 seconds. When it came back, the door was open. Daniel's hands shook as he paused the frame. He zoomed in. The figure was just standing there, barely visible in the fog. Watching. Not moving. Watching. He turned off the camera and backed away from the screen. He had lived in the city for 10 years. He had seen crime. He had even been robbed once. But this was not human behavior. This was something else. That night, he tried to stay awake. He sat with his knife and flashlight, but sleep found him anyway. He woke up at 3:09 a.m. The flashlight was on the floor. The knife was gone. He stood up quickly, confused and dizzy. His heart sank when he looked at the bedroom wall. There was something written in the dust. Not carved, not written with fingers, but burned into the thin layer of dust like a laser had etched it in. "You saw me." Daniel ran outside in a panic. He grabbed his truck keys and took off down the road toward town. But halfway there, his truck died. No warning, just stopped. He stepped out and looked around. Nothing but fog, trees, and silence. Then, from deep in the forest, he heard a sound, a low, slow clicking, like bones tapping together. It was getting closer. Daniel turned and ran through the trees. Branches cut his arms, rocks tore his boots, but he kept running, until he saw light, the edge of town. He stumbled into a gas station, blood on his arms, sweat down his face. The clerk looked up, startled. Daniel pointed back toward the woods. "Something's out there," he said. The clerk didn't look surprised. He only nodded, slowly. Then whispered, "It watches all of us, always has." Daniel sat on the gas station floor until morning, when he finally went back to the cabin. It looked untouched, door closed, Lights off. Camera disconnected. Inside, everything was back. In place. The message on the wall, gone, like nothing had happened. But Daniel knew it wasn't over. That night, as he lay in bed, exhausted and paranoid, he heard it again. The soft, slow tap. Tap tap on the window. He didn't move. He didn't speak. Because this time, he could feel it right outside the glass. Breathing. Watching. Waiting. Daniel didn't sleep the rest of the night. He lay in bed, completely still, staring at the ceiling, while the tapping on the window continued soft, slow, like fingers brushing glass. Tap, tap, tap. Then silence. He waited. Minutes passed. Still nothing. Slowly, he turned his head toward the window. Curtains closed. No movement. But that feeling was there again. Heavy, cold, wrong. Something wasn't just watching him, it was inside the house now. Daniel got up and checked every room with a flashlight in one hand, the other holding a long kitchen knife. Living room, kitchen, bathroom, nothing. He reached the last door, the basement. He never used the basement. It smelled old and damp. He kept it locked, but now the door was slightly open, the lock broken. A small line of wet footprints led downstairs into the darkness, each one too long, too thin, not human. He backed away. He didn't want to go down there. Every part of his body screamed, don't do it. But he had to know. He turned on the basement light. It flickered weakly. Step by step, he went down the old wooden stairs. The basement was silent, full of dusty boxes and broken furniture. But the footprints continued across the floor, wet, fresh, and stopped near an old metal shelf. Nothing was behind it. No creature, no door, no sign of where the footprints ended. But the wall behind the shelf looked strange. It was too smooth, too clean. He stepped closer. Suddenly a loud bang echoed through the cabin above. Daniel ran back upstairs, heart racing. But everything looked normal. Except one thing. His laptop was open. It had been off earlier. On the screen was a single file. Watching_you_ now. MP4. He didn't remember downloading anything. He didn't even have internet out here. Still, he clicked it. The video showed a night vision view of his cabin. From outside. From the forest. It was filmed from behind a tree. The footage zoomed in slowly. He saw himself inside the house, sitting on the couch. Unaware, calm. But just behind him, in the shadows, something was moving. Something tall and slow. The video cut off. Daniel slammed the laptop shut. His hands were shaking. He wanted to leave, but where would he go? The town. No one wanted to help. No one talked about the thing in the forest. It was like the whole town was pretending it didn't exist. He needed answers. He remembered the gas station clerk, the one who said it watches all of us. Daniel went back the next morning. The man was there, but he looked nervous when Daniel entered. Daniel didn't waste time. You know something? Please tell me what it is. The man paused, looked around. Then he spoke softly. We call it the Watcher. It's always been here, even before the town, before roads, before people. Daniel leaned in. What does it want? The clerk swallowed hard. It watches, it waits, and when you notice it, it never forgets you. Daniel left the gas station, more confused than ever. Why him? Why now? Back home, he found the front door wide open. Inside, the kitchen chairs were turned upside down. The TV was on, showing static. He slowly walked through the house. In the hallway, he saw it again, a message scratched into the wall, not written with hands, etched like it was burned by heat. You see me clearly now. Daniel knew he had to end this. He pulled out every camera he had, every recorder, and set them up around the house. He made sure nothing could enter without being seen. That night, he waited with his flashlight, his knife, and his recorder turned on. It was quiet for hours, until 2:47 a.m. His flashlight flickered. Then he heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. The window. He didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, the lights went out. All of them. He clicked on the recorder. It was the only thing still working. He whispered, it's here, I know it. And then he heard something behind him. Breathing. Slow, heavy, wet. He turned quickly but saw nothing. He aimed the flashlight into the hallway. Empty. But on the recorder. He would later hear what he couldn't see. A low voice. Dry. Cold. Not human. Alone. Nitrogen monoxide. Longer. Daniel ran outside, barefoot, into the freezing forest. Behind him. The cabin windows shattered. Something was coming. He ran for nearly an hour, through fog and trees, until he collapsed near an old cabin ruin deep in the forest. He had never seen it before. It looked ancient. Rotten wood. Rusted door. But something about it felt familiar. He went inside. It was empty, except for one thing. A table, covered in photos. Of him. Sleeping, eating, sitting. Photos from inside his cabin. All taken from different angles. Different nights. Different rooms. And at the center of the table, an old tape recorder. He pressed play. Static. Then a whisper. His voice, recorded days ago. I think someone's watching me. Another voice responded. Not his. Not human. Yes, I always have. Daniel screamed, but no one heard. Because deep, in Black Hollow, in that quiet forest, there was no one left to hear, only the watcher. And it was watching still. Daniel stayed in the ruined forest cabin until sunrise. He didn't sleep, couldn't sleep. The photos, the recorder, the whisper, it was all real now. He wasn't imagining it. The watcher was real, and it had been watching him for longer than he could guess. Every shadow felt alive. Every branch that moved in the wind made his heart stop. As daylight broke through the foggy trees, Daniel knew he had one goal now: find out what it is, why it's here, and how to stop it. He went back to his own cabin just after dawn. Broken windows, torn curtains, claw marks across the floor. But it was empty for now. Daniel grabbed his laptop, the cameras, the knife, and whatever food he could carry. He wasn't staying there another night. He drove straight to the old town library, hoping to find anything about the thing haunting him. He didn't tell anyone. No police, no locals. He didn't trust them anymore. Everyone in the town acted like this was normal, like they had accepted it. The library was mostly abandoned. The building was cold and dusty. The computers didn't work, but the back shelves had hundreds of old books, town records, forest maps, local legends. He sat in a corner and started reading. Page after page. Dust in his eyes, cold creeping into his hands. But then he found something, a leather-bound journal. No title, just a burned symbol on the front, an eye with sharp edges. Not human. Inside, someone had written with shaking hands, if you find this, then you've seen it too. The watcher comes for those who look back. It doesn't kill. It changes. It follows, forever. Don't try to fight it. It lives in shadows, in walls, in thought. Once it knows your name, you're already lost. Daniel froze. He looked at the last page. There was a list of names, and at the very bottom, Daniel Cross. His name. Written in the same messy, terrified handwriting. He felt the floor shift under him. Not physically, but something deeper. The room felt smaller. Like the air itself was being watched. Suddenly, all the library lights turned off. Daniel stood slowly. Step, step, step. He heard it, bare feet walking on cold tile. Not his own. But no, one was there. Then, a whisper, right behind him. You read too far, Daniel. He ran. Out of the library, into the street. Breath shaking, chest tight. But when he looked around, he noticed something strange. The town had changed. It was the same. Buildings, same roads, but no cars. No people. No wind. It was like the whole town had frozen in time. A child's tricycle sat in the road. A bakery window showed fresh bread, but no baker. Daniel stood in the middle of the street, surrounded by complete silence. And then, he realized this wasn't his world anymore. His phone didn't work. No signal. No battery. The sun was high in the sky, but it gave off no warmth. Even the birds were gone. Daniel walked slowly toward the forest again, the only place that still felt real. The only place where it had first come. Maybe that's where it all began. He followed a trail through the trees. It was darker now. Even though it was still daytime, the deeper he walked, the more wrong everything felt. The forest was changing. He came upon an old stone circle in the woods. Something ancient, forgotten, symbols carved into the stones, some broken, some still glowing faintly, and at the center of the circle a mirror. not a regular one. This mirror wasn't reflecting him. It showed a different version of the forest. The same trees, same sky but darker, and in that mirror, Daniel saw himself. But something was standing behind his reflection. Tall, thin, eyes glowing white, the Watcher. He turned away. Heart racing, breathing fast. But when he looked behind him in real life, there was nothing there. Still, he felt it, breathing on his neck, staring through his skull. A low voice echoed in the air. "Why do you keep running?" Daniel fell to his knees, his mind spinning. "What do you want from me?" He shouted. Silence. Then the voice again. "To remember." Daniel was confused. Remember what? Suddenly, memories flashed in his mind. Visions not his own. People, dozens of them, standing in the forest, long ago. They were performing a ritual. A child was placed in the center of the stone circle. Chanting. Then screaming. Then darkness. And the child had Daniel's face. He gasped. He wasn't the first. He had been part of this. Long ago. Or in another life. Or in a loop that never ended. The Watcher didn't come from outside. It came from within. It was born from the minds of those who feared it. Fed by stories, by attention, by belief. And now, Daniel was its next storyteller. He would carry the fear, spread it, let others feel the same. Eyes on their backs. The Watcher didn't need to kill him. It needed him to share it. To make others see it. Daniel stood up slowly. His heart was calm now. He knew what had to be done. He would go back, not to escape but to record everything. To tell the story, so that others would feel the fear. And once they did, the Watcher would find them too. Daniel walked back toward town, but he didn't feel like himself anymore. It wasn't just fear. It wasn't just confusion. It was as if something inside him had shifted. His mind had opened and something had stepped inside. He remembered the stone circle, the visions, the mirror, and the voice. To remember. What was he supposed to remember? Was he really that child from the past, or just a witness to someone else's memory? He wasn't sure anymore. But the worst part, he didn't feel completely alone anymore, even when no one was around. Back in town, everything looked normal again. Cars moved, people walked, the lights in the library were back on. It was like nothing had happened. But Daniel knew better. He knew what was real. He had seen the cracks under the surface, the thin layer of normal that hid what really watched from the dark. He returned to his cabin, sat at his desk. And opened his laptop. The screen flickered once, then lit up. He began typing. He wrote down everything. The whisper in the forest, the strange symbols, the photo of him sleeping. The journal in the library. The stone circle, and the mirror. He typed without stopping, his fingers moving like they weren't even his. The words poured out fast, like they were already written inside his brain and just needed to escape. But then something strange happened. The laptop screen went black. A single line of text appeared. "You are not the first." Then the laptop shut off completely. Daniel sat in silence. No wind outside. No sound. He reached for his phone, but it wouldn't turn on either. He lit a candle, trying to stay calm. He couldn't explain it, but he felt like he had crossed a line, like he had stepped too far into the story. He wasn't just telling it now. He was part of it. And that's when he saw it. A figure, standing at the edge of the woods, just beyond the window. Not moving, not walking, just watching. Daniel's heart raced. He grabbed his camera, turned it on, and zoomed in. The figure was tall, thin, with no face, only glowing eyes, faint in the darkness. Daniel blinked. Gone. He ran outside. Nothing. But he knew what he saw. And when he looked at the camera footage, the figure was still there. He uploaded the footage to his hard drive, backed it up twice. He wanted proof. He wanted others to see. He wanted people to believe him. But deep down, he also knew what would happen once they did. That's what the Watcher wanted. Not to kill, not to destroy, but to be seen. Once you saw it, truly saw it, you couldn't unsee it. You carried it inside you, just like he was carrying it now. Over the next few days, Daniel stopped sleeping. Every night, the whispers got louder. Not just in the forest, but inside the walls of his cabin. Sometimes, he'd find chairs moved, books opened, the stove turned on, and once, he woke up with a symbol drawn on his arm, the same symbol from the stone circle. He washed it off, but it came back the next night. Then the dreams started. In his dreams, Daniel saw other people. All strangers, all scared, running through woods, hiding under beds, screaming into darkness, and always being watched. He realized these weren't dreams at all. They were memories, not his own. The Watcher was showing him other victims. Other people who had tried to resist it. They all failed, and now their fear lived on inside Daniel. He started posting his story online. Photos, videos, audio clips. At first, people thought it was fake, just horror content. But then strange things started happening to his viewers. Comments came in. I feel like I'm being watched now. My lights keep turning off at the same time every night. I saw someone standing in my hallway, but no one was there. Daniel read every message. He knew what it meant. The Watcher had found new eyes. One night, Daniel got an email. No sender, no subject, just a video file. He opened it. It was footage of his own cabin, from the outside. Someone or something had recorded it. The video zoomed in slowly until it reached the window. And there, through the glass, was Daniel himself, sitting at his desk, typing. He turned to look at the camera as if he knew it was watching. Then the screen glitched. Cut to black, and a message appeared. Thank you for watching. Daniel sat frozen. He realized now this was never about him. He was only a doorway. The Watcher was using him to reach others. To spread. To grow. It wasn't hunting victims. It was building a network of fear, a hive of stories. And every person who watched, every person who believed, became part of it. He looked around the room. Everything felt darker now. The walls pulsed slightly, like they were breathing. The ceiling creaked, and the mirror across the room began to fog. A handprint appeared on the inside. Daniel didn't move. He didn't run. He simply whispered, I see you. The fog on the mirror cleared, and two glowing eyes stared back. Daniel didn't sleep that night, not even for a second. He sat in his wooden chair, staring at the fogged-up mirror where the glowing eyes had appeared just hours ago. Even though the fog had faded and the mirror looked normal again, the memory of those eyes still burned in his mind. Eyes that didn't just watch him, but looked through him, as if they had always known who he was and where he would end up. The silence in the cabin was thick, almost unnatural, broken only by the faint crackling of the fireplace. But behind the silence, behind the normal sounds of wood and wind and shifting shadows, there was something else, a low hum in the air, like the earth itself was holding its breath. Daniel stood up slowly, his legs stiff, and moved toward the mirror. He placed his hand gently on the cold glass surface. His breath made it fog again slightly, and for a terrifying moment, he thought he saw the eyes return. But no, it was just a trick of the light, or at least that's what he told himself. But the mirror wasn't just a reflection anymore. It had become a window, and something was still looking through from the other side. Daniel backed away and turned on every light in the cabin. The warm yellow glow of lamps and bulbs usually gave him comfort, but tonight it felt fake, like painted sunshine trying to cover the shadows that crawled just beneath reality. He picked up his journal and started writing. This time, it wasn't just about documenting what was happening. It was about making sense of it, giving it shape, because if he could understand it just a little, maybe he could fight back. But the words weren't flowing like before. He found himself repeating phrases, writing things he didn't understand. The circle never closes. Eyes behind every silence. It saw me before I was born. He didn't remember thinking these things. They just appeared on the page, his hand moving like someone else was guiding it. Outside, the wind picked up. Not a normal forest wind. It came in strange bursts, sharp, short, unnatural. And then came the knock. 3 slow knocks on the front door. Knock. Knock. Daniel froze. He didn't move, didn't speak. Who would be here this late? No one ever came this deep into the woods at night. He stepped quietly toward the door and looked through the peephole. No one was there. But as he turned away, the knock came again, this time from the back of the cabin. His heart pounded in his chest like a drum. He wasn't hallucinating. Something was outside, and it was moving. Daniel grabbed his flashlight and camera, forcing himself to Step outside into the cold night air. The forest was still, but not peaceful. The trees looked darker than usual. The stars above were clear, but the air felt thick, almost heavy. He shined his flashlight in all directions, breathing slowly. No animals, no footsteps. But then he heard it. Not a sound but a presence. He turned toward the woods, and just barely, behind a thick tree trunk, he saw it again, that tall, faceless figure, standing motionless, just far enough that its details were blurred, but its shape unmistakable. Daniel raised his camera to take a picture, but the moment he pressed the button, the flashlight blinked out, and the figure vanished. The air around him turned cold, sharp like ice. Something brushed against the back of his neck. He spun around, but no one was there. Only silence again. He rushed back inside, locked the doors, and sat trembling near the fire. Whatever was out there, it didn't want to hurt him. Yet it wanted to drive him mad first. Piece by piece, dream by dream, night by night. It was a predator not of the body, but of the mind. And Daniel was its newest obsession. The next morning, Daniel went into town. He needed to talk to someone, anyone, before he lost his grip on reality. At the diner, he ran into an old woman who had lived in the town all her life. Her name was Martha. She had heard of Daniel, heard he was writing a book or filming something out in the woods. But when Daniel told her about the figure, the mirror, the symbols, her smile faded. She grew quiet. Her hands trembled slightly as she set down her coffee. Then she said something he would never forget. "You weren't supposed to look at it." Daniel blinked. "You mean someone else saw it too?" Martha nodded, eyes wet. "We all do, eventually. Those of us who stay long enough. That forest isn't just trees. It's a door. And once it opens for you, it doesn't close again." Daniel begged her to tell him more. She hesitated, then finally agreed to show him something. At her small, dusty home near the edge of town, she pulled out an old wooden box filled with photographs, letters, and torn pages from journals, all written by people who had seen the Watcher, people from years ago, decades ago. Some were children, some were hikers, one was even a police officer. Each of them described the same thing: glowing eyes, the feeling of being watched, forgotten symbols, a mirror that showed more than reflection. Daniel sat in stunned silence. He wasn't alone. And worse, many of the people in those files had disappeared. No trace. No bodies. Just stories. Just fear. Just the Watcher. Before he left, Martha gave him one final warning. It never kills quickly. It feeds on the story, on the fear. You made the mistake of telling it. Now it's telling you. Daniel asked her what he could do. How to stop it. But she only shook her head. You can't stop it, but you can stop helping it grow. She pointed to his camera. Don't spread it anymore. Don't film. Don't share. Daniel drove back to his cabin that night with a storm of thoughts in his head. He knew Martha was right, but he also knew it was too late, because millions had already watched his videos. Millions had already seen it, and the more people knew, the stronger the Watcher became. As he arrived at his cabin, he noticed something new on the door. A fresh symbol scratched into the wood. The same spiral, the same mark from the stone circle. It was happening faster now. He stepped inside, and the mirror was fogged again. But this time, the message was written clearly across the glass. Now they all see. Daniel didn't sleep for the third night in a row, and even though his body begged for rest, his mind was wide awake, spinning faster than ever. Like a storm trapped inside his skull, thunder made of questions, lightning made of fear. The spiral symbol scratched onto his cabin door was not just a warning, it was a sign that whatever force had chosen him was no longer hiding in shadows, no longer teasing him with glimpses or signs. It had stepped into his world completely now, announcing itself like a god arriving in a forgotten land. And though Daniel had tried to believe that this was just a haunting or a ghost, or even some dark illusion created by isolation, deep down, he knew this was something older, something outside of human understanding, something that didn't belong in this world, but had been watching it for longer than any of them could imagine. The message on the fogged mirror haunted him. Now, they all see. What had that meant? Who was they? Was it referring to the viewers, millions of people who had seen his footage, who had watched the mirror glow, Who had heard the whispers in the wind? Had he accidentally made humanity visible to something that was never meant to notice them? Daniel sat by the fireplace, clutching the photo Martha had given him, one of a young girl standing in the woods. With the same spiral scratched into her palm, she had disappeared in 1981, never found. The file said the same thing about all of them. Each person who encountered the Watcher eventually went mad, vanished, or both. And now Daniel was connected to all of them, tied by invisible threads to a pattern that stretched decades back, and who knows how far forward. He wanted to burn the photo. He wanted to delete the videos. But something in his gut told him it was already too late. The story had taken on a life of its own. The more people who saw it, the more powerful it became, not just for him, but everywhere. His phone buzzed suddenly. It was a message from a stranger. No name. No profile picture. Just a message. I saw it too. Daniel's blood turned to ice. He replied quickly. What did you see? The stranger responded. The spiral. The mirror. The figure. It's not just watching anymore. Suddenly, dozens of new messages started pouring in. People from different parts of the world, Canada, Brazil, Japan, even someone from Pakistan, all describing the same experience. A dark forest in their dreams, glowing eyes and reflections, hearing knocks at 3:33 a.m., seeing spirals on random surfaces, even people waking up with a spiral burned into their skin. Daniel stared at the screen, horrified. He had created a door, and people were walking through it without knowing, without protection, without a way back. He didn't just document the story. He had spread it like a virus. And now, the Watcher wasn't bound to his cabin or to the forest. It had followers now, unwilling, terrified followers, panicked. Daniel grabbed his gear, camera, journals, flashlight, the old files from Martha, and began packing. He had to go back, not just to the forest, but to the stone circle. That was the first place he had seen the spiral. That was where everything had changed. Maybe, just maybe, he could undo something there. Maybe if he burned the circle, or cleansed it, or destroyed it, he could stop this from growing. He knew it was desperate, but it was all he had left. Driving through the forest roads was like moving through a different reality now. The trees looked unfamiliar, stretched tall, their bark covered in subtle markings, faint spirals, triangles, strange geometry that seemed to shimmer slightly in the corner of the eye, but disappeared when looked at directly. The forest didn't feel like a place anymore. It felt like a living mind, a maze of thoughts and ancient memories. And Daniel was crawling through its skull, praying he wouldn't be noticed again. But he had already been noticed. They all had. He parked and walked the last H. Daniel couldn't remember how he got back inside the cabin. One moment he was lying on the cold road, heart pounding like a war drum inside his chest, and the next he was staring at the ceiling of his cabin, sweat pooling beneath his back, breath sharp and shallow like he had been pulled from drowning. The fire had gone out. The windows were fogged again. And worst of all, the mirror had returned, not placed by him, not carried, just there, standing tall in the middle of the living room, its frame blackened like it had been pulled from fire. The glass wasn't cracked anymore. In fact, it looked newer, cleaner, almost inviting. But Daniel didn't move. He didn't even blink. Because this time, he could hear something, a sound coming from inside the mirror. Not just whispers, a heartbeat, faint, slow, rhythmic, not his own, not human. Something else. The silence in the room was too complete, like it had swallowed all the life around it. Even the ticking of the old wall clock had stopped, its second hand frozen between numbers. Daniel got to his feet slowly, knees stiff, body sore from the night before. He backed away from the mirror, step by step, until he reached the edge of the kitchen counter. Then something even more disturbing happened. The mirror began to fog, just like before. A message started to appear, not written with a finger this time, but forming on its own, like it was being breathed onto the glass by something behind. It's not just watching. Daniel's skin crawled. It's waiting. His breath caught in his throat. For you. Daniel ran outside, slamming the cabin door behind him. The air was colder than it should have been. The sky overhead was pale, to pale almost white. The trees didn't rustle. No wind. No sound. Just stillness. Then, the old woman Martha stepped out from behind a tree. Her eyes were darker now, sunken, her skin thinner, like it had aged 20 years in a single night. But she smiled as if she had expected him. "You opened it," she said softly, her voice hollow like it was echoing through a tunnel. Daniel's lips trembled. "Opened what?" "The gate," she answered. "The mirror is not just a mirror, it's a mouth. And it's hungry." Daniel staggered back, shaking his head. "I didn't mean to. I didn't even know you saw it. That was enough. And when you showed it to the world, it saw you back." Martha moved closer, her feet not making a single sound on the gravel path. "You made them all visible," she whispered. "All the people who watched your videos, who listened to your recordings, who followed the spirals, they are all being seen now. And once it sees you, it never forgets." Daniel collapsed onto the steps. He remembered the messages. People all over the world describing the same signs, the dreams, the eyes, the spirals. It was spreading. He had infected them all. "What do I do?" he asked quietly. Martha turned her head slightly. "You go back to where it started. The stone circle." "No," she said. "Before that, before the videos, before the mirror. You go back to the cave." Daniel blinked. "What cave?" Martha's eyes locked with his. She didn't blink. "The one you went into when you were 7. And just like that, the memories he had buried for so long returned like a flood. A camping trip, a dark cave, a strange shape on the walls, eyes in the dark. He had forgotten it. Or rather, it had made him forget. "Why now?" Daniel whispered. "Why come back now?" "Because something changed," she said. "The gate was sealed for a long time, but when enough people believe in the same fear, when enough minds open at the same time, the wall becomes thin." Martha stepped back into the forest, her body slowly fading into the fog. "When you're ready," she called out, "go to the cave. But don't go alone." "Wait," Daniel called after her. But she was gone. That night, Daniel sat alone, the fire crackling again, but it felt small now, like a candle in a storm. He opened his laptop. Hundreds more messages. Videos, pictures, stories. One showed a spiral burned into the snow outside someone's window in Norway. Another security footage from a parking lot in Argentina. A man walking alone, then stopping suddenly, looking behind him, but there was nothing. Then he vanished, mid-step, like someone had erased him from the footage. Daniel clicked play on another clip. It was from a child's toy camera, shaky footage. The girl laughing, then pointing toward the mirror in her house. "Who's that man?" she asked. But there was no one visible to anyone else, not in the room, only in the mirror. Daniel felt the dread deepening. He opened his journal, flipping through the notes, sketches, dates, trying to piece it together. Then he remembered something. The coordinates, years ago. During a backpacking trip, he had scribbled down GPS coordinates from a strange rock near the base of a canyon. The rock had a spiral. He had laughed at it, then thought it was graffiti. Now he wondered if that was the beginning, if the spiral had been waiting for him all along. He typed the coordinates into his phone. The map zoomed in. There it was. A marked location deep in a forest preserve, off any official trail. Daniel stared at the screen. He would go back to the cave, to where it all began, to face what he had buried. But this time, he'd bring the camera, because the world needed to see the truth, even if it destroyed them. The road to the cave was not on any map. Daniel had to leave his car miles away and hike through thick trees, slippery rocks, and strange silence. He followed the old GPS coordinates. Each step felt heavier, not just from fear but from the pull. Something wanted him to come back. The deeper he went, the quieter the world became. No birds, no insects. Even the wind seemed to die behind him. It was like walking into a place forgotten by time. After 2 hours, he saw at the narrow cave entrance, hidden behind overgrown vines and broken stones, just like he remembered, though smaller, or maybe he was just bigger now. He took out his flashlight and turned on his body camera. He whispered to himself, "No turning back," and went inside. The cave swallowed him whole. At first, it was just darkness and damp stone. His footsteps echoed with strange delay, as if the cave had layers, like voices hiding beneath the walls. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Then, the spiral appeared, drawn crudely on the wall, but it pulsed faintly under the beam of his flashlight, almost like it was alive. Daniel reached out to touch it, and the stone felt warm. Suddenly, a noise behind him. He spun around. Nothing. But then a voice, soft and wet, whispered from the dark, "You left us behind." Daniel froze. The voice didn't sound like one person. It sounded like many, all speaking together, layered and broken. He took a deep breath and moved forward, deeper into the cave, closer to the spiral. After a few minutes, the tunnel opened into a wider chamber. Daniel stepped in and gasped. The walls were covered in mirrors, old, cracked, dusty, but some of them were clean, reflecting not just his face but others. He saw a man standing behind him. He spun around. No one. He looked back. The man was closer, then gone. He looked into another mirror. This one showed a child in a dark room, crying. Another mirror, an empty hallway. But in the corner, something moved. Each mirror was like a window, showing different lives, different places. Like the watchers weren't just watching him, they were watching everyone. Daniel backed away, heart pounding. The mirrors began to fog up. One by one, and words started to appear. "You brought the world to us. Now the world will see. There's no safety, not anymore." Daniel ran past them, deeper into the chamber. He needed answers. He needed to find the center, the source. Finally, at the back of the chamber, he found it. An ancient stone platform, circular, with spirals carved into its surface, and in the middle of it a pool of black liquid, still as glass. It wasn't water. It was the same blackness he had seen in his dreams, in the mirror, in the eyes that watched him. He stepped closer and the surface rippled. A hand rose from the liquid. Not human. Too long, too thin, its skin stretched like smoke held together by hate. Daniel couldn't move. The hand was followed by a head, not a face, just eyes, too many, each one opened slowly, like mouths made of silence. The creature didn't climb out, it floated. Its presence sucked the warmth from the air. Mirrors shattered all around the chamber. And then it spoke, not with sound, but directly into his mind. "You remembered. That was your mistake." Daniel dropped to his knees, clutching his skull. Visions filled his brain, images of people being watched in their homes, in their dreams, inside locked rooms. The thing had always been watching, through reflections, through thoughts, through fear. We were never outside. We were always inside, inside the stories, inside belief. Daniel screamed. His flashlight shattered. The cave went completely black. Only the thing remained, its form glowing faintly, like moonlight through smoke. Then, something surprising happened. A voice shouted from behind Daniel. He turned his head. Someone was running into the chamber. Maya, his sister. She had followed him. She had seen the signs too. She had read the messages, felt the dread, followed the map. The creature froze. Its many eyes turned toward her. Maya pulled out something from her bag, a mirror. A small, round one, framed in silver. An old family mirror their mother used to carry. The creature hissed. The air twisted. Maya held the mirror high. "Look at yourself," she shouted. The creature recoiled. Its form flickered. Daniel understood the creature hated to be seen. It thrived on watching others, but not being watched itself. He grabbed a piece of broken mirror from the floor and held it up to the monster. Its reflection rippled like smoke, trying to escape its own body. More cracks spread across the cave walls. The spirals on the floor began to glow. The creature let out a horrible screech, not sound. After escaping the cave, Daniel and Maya didn't speak much. They walked through the forest in silence, the sunlight filtering through the trees like it was trying to hide something. Even the sounds of birds and wind felt distant, like the world was unsure of their return. Something had changed in both of them. They had seen something no one was supposed to see, something ancient, something that watched. Back at Daniel's apartment, they locked every window and covered every mirror. Maya threw a blanket over the bathroom mirror first, then the hallway one. Finally, the bedroom. It wasn't fear anymore, it was instinct. Whatever that thing was, it had used reflections like doors, and now that it had seen them again, they couldn't take any chances. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, still shaking, They're not gone. He whispered. It said this is not the end. Maya nodded. We heard it. But it's still watching. Maybe it always was. That night, Maya slept on the couch, and Daniel stayed in the bedroom, trying to keep the lights on. But at 3:33 a.m., all the lights blinked and then went out. Total darkness. Daniel sat up in bed. He heard a faint sound in the hallway like glass cracking. Slowly, like someone stepping across broken mirror shards without shoes. He reached for his phone. Dead. The battery was full before he slept, but now it wouldn't even turn on. He grabbed a flashlight from the nightstand and slowly opened the bedroom door. The hallway was empty, but the blanket over the hallway mirror was on the floor. He bent down, picked it up, and froze, because the mirror was not showing him. It was showing the cave. Same platform, same spirals, same black pool. But it wasn't just a memory, it was live. In the reflection, he saw a shape rising again from the dark liquid. But this time, it was not one creature. It was many, dozens of long, thin forms rising out together. Daniel stepped back. The mirror rippled like a screen, like water about to break. He screamed. Maya. She ran to him instantly. He pointed. At the mirror, she saw it. More figures, human figures walking into the cave chamber. Men and women, faces blank, eyes wide. People they didn't know, but their movements were robotic, empty. The creatures weren't just watching anymore. They were calling, and people were answering. Maya gasped. It's spreading. Daniel nodded. It's using mirrors to pull people in, and maybe you replace them. They both remembered the children who stared at walls, the man in the woods, the woman in the gas station who wasn't quite right. Those weren't isolated. Those were early signs. Now it was accelerating. Daniel ran to his laptop. It still worked. He opened his old hard drive, the one with the camera footage from years ago. From the first incident, the files were corrupted, all except one, a folder named We See You. He clicked. Inside were dozens of short clips, random people in different places, homes, streets, subways, showers being filmed by hidden cameras. But the footage wasn't from security cams. It was too close, too personal, like something was watching from inside. In one clip, a man stared into his bathroom mirror for hours. In another, a child sat in a closet whispering to something off camera. In a third, Daniel saw himself sitting on his bed. Right now, he looked around. No camera, no phone, nothing. He looked back at the screen. In the video, his body moved, but he hadn't moved. His reflection smiled. He didn't. Then his reflected voice said, "We only need one more door." Daniel slammed the laptop shut. The screen cracked. Maya's voice trembled. They're already here. They made a decision. They had to destroy the last door, the original mirror, the cave portal. They packed supplies, flashlights, ropes, and grabbed the old family mirror Maya had used to push the creature back. They taped their phones to their chests to record everything. It wasn't just about survival now, it was about proof. They drove back to the forest and hiked into the dark. But this time, the air felt heavier. The path had changed. It was shorter, like the cave was closer. Waiting. When they arrived, the entrance was wide open. The vines were gone. The spiral above the cave door was glowing faintly. Daniel looked at Maya. She looked at him. They stepped inside. This time, the cave was different. The walls pulsed gently like veins under skin. Wet stone, and the air was warmer, like a living lung breathing around them. They heard the whispers again, but now, they weren't alone. Footsteps. Someone was following them. They turned their lights behind them. No one. But when they turned back, there was a person in front of them. A man, naked, pale, eyes hollow. His skin was marked with spirals. He pointed toward the main chamber, then slowly turned into black smoke and vanished. They entered the chamber. The mirrors were back. But now, they were bigger, taller, sharper. Each one showed people they knew, friends, strangers, children, some crying, some screaming, some just staring. Maya held the family mirror tightly in her hand. Daniel whispered, "What do we do now?" The spirals on the floor glowed brighter. The platform opened. And from the black pool, something enormous began to rise. A mass of eyes, limbs, faces that looked human but stretched. melted, incomplete. And it spoke again, not in their heads, out loud. You brought the last mirror. Maya raised the family mirror high. It cracked. Daniel screamed, break it. Now Maya didn't hesitate. She lifted the mirror above her head as the black creature with many eyes rose from the pool, reaching for them with long, shadowy limbs. Its voice was deep, broken, and layered with hundreds of whispers, men, women, children, like it had stolen voices from every person it had watched. You brought the last mirror. It repeated, louder this time, as the glowing spirals on. The cave floor began to spin faster. The walls of the chamber shimmered like water, as if the entire space was becoming a reflection. Daniel could feel his skin burning, like something inside him was being pulled. His hands shook, his eyes locked onto the creature's shifting, horrifying face. In one moment, it looked like his mother, then Maya, then himself, then something he had never seen before but somehow recognized. Something ancient, something hungry. He looked at Maya. Her hands trembled too, but her grip was tight around the mirror. We destroy it, she said, breathless. We end it. Now, before Daniel could answer, the creature lunged forward. Its tendrils stretched across the space like living ropes of black smoke. One wrapped around Daniel's leg, pulling him toward the pool. He screamed as he fell to the stone floor, struggling to free himself. Now, Maya, he shouted. Do it. Maya raised the mirror once more and threw it with all her strength at the glowing spiral on the floor, the exact center of the chamber. The mirror shattered with a thunderous crack. The pieces exploded into the air, spinning like glass daggers, catching the strange glowing light of the room. For a moment, everything stopped. The creature froze mid-lunge. The reflections in the surrounding mirrors turned black. Even the spinning spiral symbols went dark. Then, the cave began to shake. The creature let out a scream, not with a mouth, but through the air itself. The sound was like knives scraping metal. It echoed through their bones, made Daniel clutch his ears and cry out. The floor beneath them cracked. The pool boiled. All the remaining mirrors shattered at once, and every piece vanished into dust before it could hit the floor. Daniel felt the black tendril round his leg loosen. Maya grabbed his arm and pulled him up. Together they ran. Behind them, the cave collapsed, stone falling, dust rising, darkness closing in. The shriek of the creature faded, like it was falling into some deeper place, a space beneath even the earth, where no human should ever go. By the time they reached the surface, daylight was just beginning to rise. They collapsed outside the cave entrance, gasping, coughing, covered in dust and sweat. Their hearts pounded like drums, but for the first time in days, the air felt clean, still, free. No whispers. No reflections. Just wind, trees, and sky. Daniel looked at Maya. Is it over? She didn't answer for a moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. We broke the last door. Back in the city, life went on. No one knew what had almost happened. No news reported anything strange. No one spoke of watchers, mirrors, or voices. But Daniel and Maya knew the truth. They tried to return to normal, but something inside them had changed. The fear didn't go away completely. They still avoided mirrors when they could. They kept their windows covered at night. They never slept with the lights off. And sometimes, just sometimes, they still felt watched. But it was different now. 1 week later, Maya sat on the balcony of her apartment, reading. The sun was setting, and the sky was orange. She heard a knock at the door. When she went to check, no one was there. But on the hallway floor was a small box. No name, no address, just a spiral drawn in black ink. Maya's hands shook as she opened it. Inside, lying in soft red cloth, was a single piece of the broken mirror, perfectly clean, shining, and on its surface, a reflection. Not her. Not Daniel. But him, the creature, still alive, still watching, and it smiled.